guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at my finished temperature blanket for the year of 2023. I decided at the start of 2023 that I was going to do a temperature blanket. What is a temperature blanket? Essentially, it is crocheting one line every single day to represent the temperature in some way for that day. Now, if we take a look at my temperature blanket, I did basic single crochet lines. I didn't count my stitches. I literally just went until it was about 6 foot long, and that was the measurement that I was going off. I was not about to count that many stitches because I'm pretty sure it's like 300 or something. I used 4mm yarn and yeah, one line every single day. So there are 365 lines in this temperature blanket, and it has ended up being about 9 foot long, which is absolutely enormous. I honestly have no idea what I'm going to do with this blanket because it is so huge, and because I use single crochet, it's actually not that thick or warm, so I might sort of double it up in some way. I'm thinking of maybe doing a border on it. Let me know what you think. But yeah, that is what my temperature blanket looks like. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about what is a temperature blanket and like the different ways that you can do it. So I've seen lots of people do them for like their mood rather than the temperature, and you can change the type of stitch you do. So you can have like two variables. You can have the color that you do and the type of stitch you do. I saw one girl literally make a blanket based on the number of poops that she did a day and the texture of her poops. And honestly, what an icon. But I'm pretty basic, so I did just do temperature, and I went for the average temperature every day. I will link the website that I used to track my temperatures. I also do have sort of like my 5 top tips for making a temperature blanket video, and I will also add that sort of in the cards somewhere for you to go and watch if you do want to make one of these. But yeah, I went for average temperature because I feel like the highs, you would have had some like really hot ones, but then none of the cold ones, and vice versa for the hot temperatures. I didn't actually get to my really hot temperature in the end. I had like 6 different colors, and the above 30 average we never hit, even when I was in other countries. I also decided to do my temperature based on the place that I was in that day. So you'll kind of see like right at the start here, there's like a really hot line in the middle of January, and that's because I actually went to Egypt on a work trip for a couple of days. And then throughout the summer, pretty much all of these red like hot patches are actually when I was just in another country on holiday. But I think that's a really good way to get a bit more like range in your temperature, especially if you live in the UK where it is basically the same temperature the whole time. And you'll see that by just like how much green was in my blanket. But if you do want to make one of these, I'm going to give you sort of like my 3 top tips to make sure that you stick with it, because I'm aware this is a huge project, and I was really consistent with it until about October, when things started getting really busy, and this was probably the lowest priority. So come December, I think I had 2 whole months to catch up on. So like over Christmas, I was just frantically stitching away. So yes, my biggest top tip would be don't leave a chunk to do. Do it every day if you can. Do it as like your morning activity or your evening activity. For me and my 6 foot long line, it took me about, at the start when I'd never crocheted before, it took me about 20 minutes to do one line a day. And then by the end I kind of mastered it and I could do it in about 10 minutes. So 10 minutes every day actually doesn't sound like too much, and it's a really therapeutic activity to do. Secondly, weave in your edges as you'd go. I tend to leave sort of until there are about 6 on each side, and then I would do them all. So depending on how much your temperatures change, maybe like once a month I'd weave them in, because I just knew if I left it to the end of the year, I would not have done it. In terms of like the ranges of temperature that you do, it is entirely up to you. Obviously, if you want a more colourful blanket, have smaller ranges of temperature because then you get more colours in. I kind of didn't want too many colours in, so I went up in, I think, degrees of 6 in between each range, and that actually worked really well in my opinion. In terms of the amount of yarn that I think I used for this, I tried really hard to keep track of it at the start of the year, but by the end I just like frantically been to the shop so many times because I was halfway through a line and I'd run out, that I sort of didn't keep track of it very well, so I'm really sorry about that. But I will say you are going to need a lot more yarn than you think you are, especially if those sort of whatever your middle 2 colours are, you're going to use a lot of those. Probably my biggest top tip would be pick colours that you know they're not going to change or discontinue. So you can kind of see, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you, but these 2 yarns, which on camera to you probably look the same, but they're not. They're named the same thing, they're called the same thing, and I was so disappointed when I went to the shop to stock up on the new yarn to find that they had basically changed the colour even though I was halfway through the blanket. So especially for those middle colours, get as much as you can there and then, and pick a really basic colour that they're not going to change. And then the opposite is probably true for the really extreme colours. So for me, the white, and I originally bought a really dark brown for really hot, but then also this red, which was my second hottest temperature range. I probably used less than one little ball of yarn for both the white and the red. So for that sort of end, you probably only need to get one. And then as you get closer in the middle, you're going to need more and more of each. I guess that kind of makes sense logically. But I don't think I was expecting like the range to be so extreme, like one of the really cold colour and probably like 30 of the middle green colour. I would also say try and keep track of all your temperatures in an Excel spreadsheet, and sort of like with a have I done this line, yes, no box. It literally could be the simplest Excel spreadsheet ever, just the date, the temperature, and then the colour that you're doing that temperature, and then have you done that line yet, yes, no. That was literally all I did in mine. I'll insert like a screenshot of like what a bit of my spreadsheet looks like. But that's really important, especially if you're going to leave it and not do a line every day, and then you end up with like a big chunk like this where it's all the same colour and you're like, I have no idea how many of these lines I've done, and you have to kind of count them and hope for the best. So keeping track of it is really important. 10 out of 10 would recommend doing that. Honestly, I think that's everything for this temperature blanket. I think it was a really fun project to do, and a really easy and cool way to teach myself how to crochet. So even if you've never crocheted before, I personally think this is a really good beginner's project because it makes you consistent at it, and obviously practice makes perfect. As I said, I will link my sort of slightly longer top tips video either in the description, I'll put it at the end, I'll put it in the cards. It'll be somewhere that it'll be easy for you to find. You can go and watch that if you do want to make one. I know we are a couple of weeks into 2024, but because this website that I use to track my temperatures has all the historical weather data, you can literally start anywhere, so it doesn't matter that you're a couple weeks late, it just means you've got a couple weeks to catch up on. But I'm very excited to share with you what my 2024 year-long project is. It is a completely different craft. We're moving away from crochet. Well, we're not moving away from crochet, there's still going to be a lot of crochet happening. I'm just also doing a new craft. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I'll be showing that very soon. But in terms of my temperature blanket for 2024, I think that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the process of this, especially if you followed along on Shorts or TikTok or Instagram or whatever your platform of choice is. And if you've made a temperature blanket or you're gonna make one for this year, definitely tag me in it. I love to see them. I think they look so cool. And let me know if you have any like really funky ideas on what I can actually do with this blanket. But yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the final temperature blanket for 2023, and I hope I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye!